Today, we are diving deep into a type of surveillance that's pretty unsettling. It's something that operates in the shadows of the very infrastructure we all rely on to communicate. Now get this, it doesn't need to infect your phone, it doesn't need to trick you into clicking some shady link. It targets the network itself. We're talking about a company called Circles, and a threat that, by design, leaves no trace.
So that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer, the one I want you to keep in the back of your mind. Can your phone actually be spied on? I'm talking location tracked, calls intercepted, without ever being hacked in the traditional sense? It's a huge question, and I promise you, by the end of this, you'll have a very clear answer.
Okay, first things first. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. When most people think about phone spying, they're thinking of spyware, right? Stuff like Pegasus. That's device hacking. It usually needs you to do something like click a link. It installs malicious software on your phone. But what we're talking about today, it's a completely different beast. It's network exploitation. This method requires 0 clicks, 0 mistakes from you. It's totally invisible on your phone because it's not attacking your phone's software, it's attacking the telecom network itself.
And that leads us straight into our first section, the ghost in the network. We're talking about a threat that isn't really on your device, but it's all around it, living inside the global telecommunications grid. The company right at the center of this web is called Circles. Now, according to some really deep research by the Citizen Lab, Circles is affiliated with the infamous NSO Group, the creators of the Pegasus spyware. But here's the difference. If Pegasus is like a surgical missile that targets a specific phone, Circles provides the global dragnet that targets the entire network. And they sell these incredibly powerful tools to governments, giving them the ability to exploit the very fabric of our mobile communications.
So how does it work? Well, the process is shockingly simple, and that's what makes it so scary. The only thing an attacker needs to target you is your phone number. That's it. From there, they exploit these things called network signaling protocols. We'll break those down in just a second. The end result? They can pinpoint your location and even intercept your calls and text messages. And the most chilling part? It's stealth. Because the whole attack happens on the network side. There's no malware, no weird pop-ups, absolutely no sign of compromise on your phone. So you're probably asking, how is that even possible? I mean, it sounds like something out of a movie. Well, the answer lies in a fundamental, decades-old vulnerability in the global phone system. That brings us to Section 2, the SS7 backdoor.
Okay, at the heart of this entire issue is a protocol called Signaling System Number 7, or just SS7. The easiest way to think about SS7 is as the private, global nervous system for all the phone companies. It was developed way back in the 1970s, and it's basically the messaging network that lets all the different carriers talk to each other. It's how your phone works when you're roaming in another country, and it's how calls get routed across the world. It is the essential, invisible plumbing of the entire global phone system.
And here is the fatal flaw. SS7 was designed in an era when the only players on the network were a handful of trusted national phone companies. The entire system was built on a simple principle of absolute trust. So, if a request came in over the SS7 network asking, hey, where's this phone number located, the network on the other end was just designed to say, sure, here you go, and send back the location data. There was no built-in security to ask, wait a minute, are you really who you say you are?
Now you might be thinking, okay, SS7, sounds old. Surely this isn't a problem on our modern 4G and 5G networks. Well, unfortunately, it is. While newer networks use an updated protocol called Diameter, it basically inherited many of the same trust-based design flaws from SS7. The vulnerabilities are still there. In fact, Circles openly markets its tools for both protocols, which means this isn't some legacy problem. It is a current, ongoing threat across almost every mobile network out there.
Let's walk through what an attack actually looks like, step by step. So an attacker, let's say a government client of Circles, has your phone number. Step 1, their system just sends a simple location query out onto the global network. Step 2, that query zips through the global system to your carrier. Then, in Step 3, your home network gets what it thinks is a totally legitimate, trusted request from another carrier. And because the system is built on that flawed trust, it complies. It looks up what cell tower your phone is currently connected to, and Step 4 sends that location data right back to the attacker. The whole thing happens in seconds, and you'd never know.
Okay, so we've got the technical how down. Now let's pivot to the who and the what. Section 3 is all about the global reach of this technology and its very, very personal impact. According to that landmark report from the Citizen Lab,
At least 25 countries have likely deployed Circle's surveillance tech. Just let that number sink in for a second. This is not some niche tool used by one or two bad actors. It's a widespread global commodity in the intelligence market.
And this isn't just an abstract number. The report got incredibly specific. In Botswana, a system codenamed Bentley Boulevard was linked to their intelligence services. In Chile, Cadillac Polaris was linked to their police. Mexico had multiple systems, including one called Mercedes Ventura linked to their navy. And in Thailand, a system was simply codenamed Toyota. These codenames give us a peek into this hidden world where these powerful surveillance tools are being bought and sold by governments all over the planet.
And I want to be crystal clear on this next point because it's crucial. This is not just about location tracking. I'm quoting directly from the Citizen Lab report here. These commands allow the attacker to track the victim's location and intercept voice calls and SMS text messages. That's right. The same network flaws can be used to reroute your calls or copy your texts, including those sensitive two-factor authentication codes sent by your bank.
All right, that was the threat analysis. It's a lot to take in, I know. But now we move to what is arguably the most important part of this entire briefing. Section 4, your practical defense plan. What can you actually do about all this?
First, let's lock down your online accounts. Since we know SMS messages can be intercepted, using them for two-factor authentication is a massive risk. So the first step is simple. Stop. Just stop using it. Instead, switch over to authenticator apps like Google Authenticator or Authy. These apps generate the codes directly on your device, so they never travel over the vulnerable SMS network. Now, for your most critical accounts, the absolute gold standard is a physical security key like a YubiKey. Intercepting that is pretty much impossible.
Next up, your conversations. From this moment on, you have to operate under a new assumption that all traditional phone calls and standard SMS texts are not secure. The only real effective defense against this kind of network surveillance is end-to-end encryption. Apps like Signal and WhatsApp create a secure encrypted tunnel through the carrier network, so even if an attacker manages to intercept the data, all they get is scrambled, unreadable garbage. The actual content of your calls and texts stays safe. Okay, for those of you who might be in higher risk environments, journalists, activists, researchers, here are a few advanced precautions. Using temporary or burner phone numbers for sensitive work can help compartmentalize your identity. If you need to be physically anonymous in a specific location, just putting your phone in airplane mode isn't enough. You have to also physically remove the SIM card. That's the only way to be sure it can't talk to the network. And finally, you can be an advocate. Call up your mobile provider and ask them point blank, do you deploy SS7 and Diameter firewalls? The more of us that ask, the more pressure they'll feel to actually fix these problems.
So let's wrap this up by zooming out a little. Section 5, Beyond Circles, the next fight. Because really, this one company is just a symptom of a much bigger, more fundamental problem. And this brings us right back to that very first question I asked you. Can your phone be spied on without being hacked? The answer unequivocally is yes. The global telecommunication network, the very foundation we all rely on to connect with each other, has these inherent flaws that can be and are being weaponized against us.
This chart sums up our modern security reality perfectly. You're fighting a war on two fronts. On one side, you have device-level threats like spyware, and you defend against those with good security software and by being smart about what you click. But on the other front, you have these network-level threats like circles, and the only way to defend against them is by using end-to-end encrypted apps and moving away from insecure things like SMS. If you only protect your device, you're leaving the gate wide open. A real security posture has to address both.
And so we end on this thought. We are building these incredibly complex digital lives, our banking, our friendships, our entire identities, all of it on top of a communications infrastructure that was designed decades ago with a foundational, exploitable flaw of misplaced trust. This isn't just about one company. It raises a much deeper, more troubling question. If the very foundation is cracked, what are we all really building on?